Good evening, everyone. This is a very short talk on controlling the mind. I had problems actually with my camera, but I've now got a webcam, which makes things a lot better, as you can see. The one thing that is emphasized, not just in Theosophical teaching, but in almost every esoteric system throughout the world, is the control of the mind. It is the most important practical advice that can be given to the student. To list references to mind control contained in the literature of Hinduism, Buddhism, Sufism, Gnosticism, Jainism, etc., would take up several hundred pages. Theosophically, H.P. Blavatsky and the Masters constantly stressed the importance of this discipline. In The Key to Theosophy, by H.P. Blavatsky, she includes this in her enumeration of the principles of man. This is from page 92. The future state and the karmic destiny of man depend on whether manas, which is the mind, gravitates more downwards to karma rupa, the seat of the animal passions, or upwards to buddhi, which is the spiritual ego. Elsewhere in her writings, she refers to the fact that the mind is the battleground. We can relate this to the Bhagavad Gita, which symbolizes this idea in the form of the great war between the two tribes, the Kurus and the Pandavas. We must also remember the verses from The Voice of the Silence by H.P. Blavatsky, which says, "The mind is the great slayer of the real. Let the disciple slay the slayer." And this mind is the key to all our efforts as regards the spiritual path. When we are told to slay the mind, the meaning is that we have to get rid of its binding qualities, the mind-forged manacles that William Blake talks about. Some students have the idea that we have to kill the lower mind, but the terms higher and lower as regards the mind are only designations connected to its qualities. There's in truth only one mind, and it is the refocusing of this that constitutes spiritual progress. To control it, we have to slowly but surely alter its affinities until it is totally centered in the divine. This is its natural state, where it feels totally at home. The mind experiences the world through the senses, but too much of an identification with the experience of these senses as a result of desire can create the mind-forged manacles I mentioned earlier, which chain us to lower levels of awareness. Also, scientists are researching the correlations between thought and physical illness. It is being proven that negative thought does indeed affect our health. This is probably because thought is subtle vibration, and discordant vibrations have a powerful influence that eventually works itself out on the physical plane, not just as regards the individual, but the whole planet in general. The remedy for all these problems is to concentrate on the higher things of life, the spiritual dimension to our being. It is here that the mind can find its relaxation and its recreation. The mind can be weighed down with too much intellectual study and thought. Too much of this study and thought, even as regards Theosophy, can actually darken the spirit and hold back our progress. Of course, the intellectual study is also essential, very important too, but there has to be a balance, the head and the heart, as the Voice of the Silence says. So the real journey consists of bringing light to all the dark corners of the soul by gradual purification of the mind. This can only reach its highest levels in a ceaseless contemplation of divinity. Reading spiritual literature, meditation, working for others, leading a moral life can bring about the gradual wearing down of barriers created by the mind. This is the method recommended the world over and has been employed effectually for millenniums by generations of seekers. If we can follow the guidelines written down by H.P. Blavatsky's master over a century ago, we'll be well on our way to understanding the truth and placing ourselves under the direct guidance of our higher self. And these words are the following: behold the truth before you, a clean life, an open mind, a pure heart, an eager intellect, an unveiled spiritual perception, a brotherliness for one's co-disciples, a readiness to give and receive advice and instruction, a loyal sense of duty to the teacher, a willing obedience to the behest of truth, once we have placed our confidence in and believe that teacher to be in possession of it, a courageous endurance of personal injustice, a brave declaration of principles, a valiant defence of those who are unjustly attacked, and a constant eye to the ideal of human progression and perfection, which the secret science, the Gupta Vidya, depicts. These are the golden stairs up the steps of which the learner may climb to the temple of divine wisdom. Say this to those who have volunteered to be taught by you. Of course, these steps are for those who are dedicated and devoted to the spiritual path. And of course, the teacher is only in possession of truth because he or she has realized certain facts that all of us will come to understand in time. The final answer is within each one of us, individually and collectively. And only living the life hinted at in the above quotation can awaken in us the intuitive awareness of the true nature of things. The mind has to be trained to gravitate towards its natural home, to avoid all the pitfalls of the illusory world of the senses, by fixing itself upon the reality beyond these senses, which includes the lower mind. Once we have some glimpse of our true nature, then we begin to see society as it really is, mainly empty and meaningless, full of hypocrisy, immorality, and cupidity. This is when the problems start, because we suddenly are brought face to face with facts that the lower mind did not wish us to consider. We become restless. The inner man feels trapped and wishes, or woman of course, and wishes to free himself or herself from the prison house of the world. We now know that there is something better, and we resolve to find it. If you have studied our theosophy or our spirituality of any tradition that's genuine, rightly, and pondered deeply the oneness of all things, then we will be developing an unselfish love for all creatures and vowing that we will not rest until all beings have attained enlightenment. This is the way of the Bodhisattva, outlined in the Voice of the Silence. It is an attitude of mind that we can encourage right from the outset. Thought is there for us to use. The lower mind is an instrument that we can employ for our purposes, if we will prevent it from shooting here and there at the beck and call of outside stimuli. It is possible for us to train the mind to be sensitive to the suffering of others, and also possible for us to use it in a healing capacity. We can send out good, strong thoughts to those in need and be sure that they will be helped. If we are centered in the divine and have brought the mind under the control of that divinity, then there is no limit to what we can accomplish. Once we have overcome desire, then we can begin to employ the spiritual will, as the two are one in essence. Purified desire is the spiritual will. Mind control does not come from a focusing of the thoughts, but by gentle repose in the self. But this does not mean that such a repose is easy to obtain. Certainly gritting our teeth and clenching our fists will not bring it about. We have to learn the art of true relaxation amidst the turmoil of life. And this is the secret. It has nothing to do with passivity or with any kind of soporific state. It is a falling back towards the infinity of the self, which pours into our hearts and minds a regenerating energy that is exhaustless. It is by reliance on something beyond the mind that the mind is controlled. The mind cannot control the mind. If this is attempted, it is like the hamster that goes round and round on its wheel, expending much energy but getting nowhere. We must open up intelligently and with knowledge to the higher part of our being if we are to discover the true mysteries that lie concealed in the depths of our consciousness. We are all capable of doing this, and thereby realizing our divinity. The adept has, by supreme effort in a moral life, attuned himself or herself to this higher dimension, and if he has followed the true theosophical path, is willing to show others how to reach the same state of mind. The ways may be different for every individual, but the general rules are the same, and the results are identical. We must not make the mistake of thinking that these rules are hard and fast. Such an attitude finds no place in genuine spiritual training. To force a certain way of life onto another person, or even on oneself, is an insult to the higher nature of man or woman. Whatever is done must be done voluntarily. The control of the mind must be undertaken because we feel that it is the right thing to do. It is no use pretending. In such case, we may find that we do not have the stamina to go on to the bitter end. We should not follow the path because we have read a book or two, and these have made us feel guilty about the way we are living. We need to cultivate a genuine desire to help our fellow man and woman and to fathom the mysteries of the universe. We need to have a real soul longing to go deep into our being, a real hunger for truth. This is the feeling that will prompt us to attempt to control the mind and thereby find ways to ease the pain of humanity through a direct realization of the brotherhood and sisterhood of all things. Remember the theosophical definition of meditation as being the inexpressible yearning of the man or woman to go out towards the infinite. The inexpressible yearning of man or woman to go out towards the infinite. Om Shanti, 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 peace, peace, peace. Peace on earth and goodwill to all beings. Thank you.